Alright guys, so in this video, this is kind of a new setup. This is pretty much the office where I'll be kind of having my own little practice, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to kind of do a video, a quick one, about how I paid off my student loans in residency and kind of the steps you can do. This is one of those videos, while you're studying while you're studying for the step exams and you take that few minute break. This is just one of those videos you can click on and it'll give you hope for the future. Because I think there's a couple things you can do while you're in residency to really kind of take those loans off your plate. And I was pretty fortunate to be able to kind of pay off all my stuff while I was in residency and have a little bit left over for some toys for myself per se. But here's kind of the things that I would say to think about when you get there, because it's important. You want to beat that debt down so you can not have that burden, carry that dark cloud over your head. And I know some people coming out of medical school these days are just hundreds of thousands in debt. Now, I was pretty fortunate for the most part because, my school is kind of cash as you go. And of course, I've told that story many times about, I couldn't afford to pay it all off. My dad, took out, credit card and paid for it. So, it was my goal as soon as I could make that extra money in residency to make sure that I could pay him back. And that's what I did. And so here's some of my tips of what you can do. First of all, when you interview and stuff, don't mention it. Don't bring up moonlighting. Don't really ask about that, at least from my recommendation, because that can be it's a sensitive topic. I mean, even when I was in residency and you talk about moonlighting, you get people in your program, the administration people, it's not why we're there to make the extra money. We're there to learn per se and work out the kinks in practice. But I'll say this, for what it's worth, I strongly encourage moonlighting as soon as you can do it. Now, according to where you go, you got to wait to get a state license, and that can vary. Some states you got to wait till after your intern year, and then if you're an IMG in some states, you got to wait an additional year. So it varies state to state and program to program, because some programs may have restrictions on that. So I can only speak from my own experience about some of the things that I did to where I paid off all my debt. And so I wouldn't bring it up during the interview. It's just one of those topics that it can be looked negatively upon, depending on who you talk to. I mean, like if someone were to ask me about that, I'd say, it's reasonable. It's a good question because maybe they have family, maybe they have a circumstance where they need to know if that opportunity does exist, because obviously in some places it may not. But one of the things that you can do is make sure, like when you get there an intern year, you're not gonna have any time to do this. Number one, you're not state licensed, and number two, no matter what your specialty is, you're probably rotating on different specialties, and they've got all your time. Pretty much, there is no extra time, and you don't know your schedule that far out. Obviously, in your intern year, which again it doesn't matter because you don't have a state license anyways. But during that time, it's communicating with those senior residents, because those guys will be cycling out the same time that you're actually going to be starting your moonlighting journey. So those guys know the ropes. They know all the locations, whether it's in the city that you're in or even the ones on the outskirts. They know what's going on. And so what number one, I'd recommend is speaking to the senior residents and figuring out the one who's got there's always one or two of those gigs, if you want to call them that, that pay well with the least amount of stress or work involved, and you want to be intertwined on that. So of course, number one, speak to the senior residents and see what they say once you're in, and I think they'll kind of guide you as far as, a lot of times what happens is they say, look, I graduate this time, I'm starting my job, which pays a lot more after I graduate, and this opportunity will exist, and they'll be looking for someone to replace them, and that's going to be your opportunity. There's another thing that I did was you can actually contact rural hospitals. This is one thing that I did. I worked in a major city area, Twin Cities, up in Minneapolis. But where I really hit the jackpot per se was there was a very small town, a rural hospital. It was independent, and they needed somebody to work on the weekends, which is ideal. And so during my, say, junior and senior or third and fourth year, I had the opportunities In our program, we had call the third year, but in fourth year, we didn't have call, so you were pretty much wide open. Now, disclaimer is, your program's going to have work hour limitations, and you got to stay within those, or otherwise you get dinged, and you might lose everything. You might lose the opportunity to moonlight. So be aware of those. So I'm not just saying go full tilt, but stay within the parameters. But again, there was a rural hospital, and it was gold. I mean, it was absolute gold, because they wanted someone to cover their inpatient unit. And I can speak from the psychiatry perspective. So they wanted someone covering their inpatient unit from, Friday at 5 p.m. all the way till Monday at 7 a.m. So any admissions by phone, and then you round on the patient Saturday and Sunday. So first of all, I got paid for covering the inpatient unit, which at that time was a lot of money to me. But as even better than that is the same hospital wanted somebody to, they have outpatient, with mental health, and you could do this almost with a lot of different things, but with mental health, they had an outpatient clinic that was open on weekends. And so, I saw, during the time that I saw patients, which is roughly 8 hours, both Saturday and Sunday, you're getting paid whatever dollar amount, which was, I'll just say this, it was pretty good. So I got double bubble. I mean, I got Saturday and Sunday as an outpatient doctor in the hospital where I was at, seeing that. And then in between patients, I would zoom over and round on the inpatients. Now I was on call pretty much. I was on call the whole weekend. But I mean, you talk about, you can easily, I hate to throw a dollar amount at you because it may change. But I can say this: if you did that twice a month, where you're covering double, you're probably making more than some of the attendings that were actually at the hospital when you put it all together. So I did that, and then also during the weekday, there are some hospitals that I always love night coverage, because they need somebody to put in the orders for admissions, and this works well with psych because you don't have to technically be there. But they just need a physician to put in orders overnight, and of course the docs who are there during the week, of course they want no part of this. So in this particular hospital, which was different than the one I'm talking about, this is the one that was actually in the Twin Cities, but not associated with the residency, is they needed somebody to put in the orders. So of course you'd get a call, you have to listen to them, tell them about the patient and say yes, admit them. You have to wake up and you put in the order set with whatever as needed medication. But it's pretty simple. It's just more of a 5-minute time-consuming lack of sleep moment. But how they paid on that one was, you got $300 out of the gate, and then for every patient that you had to, every phone call that you received after 10 o'clock, I think it was up to a maximum of $500 or $600. But again, at that time, man, you're a resident, you're one step away from being homeless, basically. That's a lot of money. And if you do that once or twice a week, you do that plus that weekend stuff, you can make a lot of money. And I know it's not about money, don't get me wrong. And I know people they get sour about this. I've heard it over and over from the admin people. But, my goal was to pay back my dad who went above and beyond to, again, I've told that story many times. You don't need to hear me say it again. But that was really what I did. And just by doing that, I was able to get that debt behind me. And if you notice, and maybe I'll slide a picture of it on here, but during my senior year, during my last year in residency, I had it all paid off, had him paid off, bought myself a nice little car, which was much better than the one that I had. And it's just a different life. But what I like about the moonlighting is it's really your first opportunity to be the man. And what I mean by that is, I encourage it from a learning perspective. Because as a student, you may make decisions and you may say it's your patient, but at the end of the day, you got a resident behind you perhaps, but definitely an attending to protect you, to oversee your work. And even as a resident, there's going to be somebody behind you, following up on your cares and your decisions. But when you start moonlighting, it's you. I mean, it's absolutely you. There's nobody checking your work per se. So, if you kill them, it's on you. And I remember in psychiatry, there's a medication, in my opinion, we joke about this, Buspirone. And it's the closest thing to a placebo I feel we have in psychiatry. And, I remember the first time I was on my own and I was prescribing that to somebody. I mean, I was looking up on Up to Date, and oh my God, I got to make sure I dose this right. And it was just such a moment looking back of like, that it finally got real, because it's me, and it makes you learn things so much better. And that's when I train students, or I have students under me, where I work now. It's like, your patient, your decision. Make sure you don't kill them, but I want you to think as though this is your person and you're alone on an island. And that's what residency is all about. It's making sure you can build that confidence to see patients, on your own, because it's coming soon, and you don't want to have that fear when you get out. You want to kind of overcome that as soon as you can. So, anyways, I just want to say kind of how I paid off my stuff, and I had a little extra left over, but. Yeah, it was a good opportunity. Residency was great learning out. Go to a place where you can learn the most, a place that's going to put you in the position to see as much as you can, and it's all about just getting better. It's just educating yourself. You want to see everything that you can while you're in residency, and take the opportunity to moonlight if it arises. And I think you'll just enjoy the process, guys. So. Anyways, do you have any other suggestions? Put in the comments below. Any other suggestions for a video, something like this, let me know. But that's my experience, and just here to share and pass it on, and hope you find it helpful, guys.